ArtistRebeccaLS, the channel that inspires you every day. Just beyond the big mysterious tree, in the magical mysterious woods, just south of the North Star, there lived an author and an illustrator. This is one of their stories. The Caps at Quarante, Deux by Mary Louise, illustrated by Rebecca Louise in 2017. The author and illustrator are a mother and daughter team. They live in central France. Caps. We have a cat or two reclining about the house. We have a cat or two trying to find mouse. We have a cat or two meowing here and there. We have a cat or two asleep on the chair. We have cats aplenty getting under feet. We have cats aplenty I'm sure you'd love to meet. We have cats eating from dishes. We have cats who do not fulfill wishes. We have cats short-haired and long. We have cats going for a song. We have cats lying by doors. We have cats with bloody great jaws. We have cats found but not given. We have cats walking, not driven. We have cats all day long and night. Don't visit us 'cause you'll get a fright. We have a cat or two. Last count it was 7. If we get any more, we'll never get to heaven. By Mary Louise. All stories start with a beginning. After all, there must be a beginning in order to reach the middle, and then the end, or perhaps just a continuation. We have to date 8 cats, none of which were sought or even wanted. Life was simple. Boy, how things can change. I'll tell you how. Chapter 1. Gingham. Something's moving in the logs. Do you see? Panic rising in a voice. I do hope it's not a rat. I hate rats, Beck ended in a low voice as she crept towards the pile. Gingerly moving a log, she let out a tiny, soft, "Ooh." It's a tiny, tiny kitten. It's so small, really, really small, she breathed softly. Look, it fits into the palm of my hand. Whatever shall we do with it? Oh my goodness, it's blind, whispered her mother earnestly. Don't be so silly, Mum. It's not long been born. I wonder where the mother is. Gone off, no doubt, and left us with the problem, sighed Mum, knowing that Beck would now take charge and insist on looking after the furry intruder. Mum dashed into the house and came back with a tea towel. Here, darling, put it into this. It will be something for it to snuggle into. But, Mum, isn't this your best tea towel? Not to worry, I've plenty more. Hey, it's just perfect, and it's given me an idea. I'll call the kitten Gingham, just like the tea towel. Beck carefully wrapped the tiny scrap in the tea towel and took it into the house. This was going to be difficult. How to feed the little thing? Well, I've got an old syringe in the cupboard. Try giving it some warm watered-down milk with it. See if it will suck. Thanks, Mum. Knew I could count on you. Beck gave the kitten some milk and marvelled at the way it began to suck at the syringe. She bathed its eyes and brushed its fur and nursed it for a while. It seemed to settle for a time in her hands. Meanwhile, Mum had found an old cat box, which had seen a great many cats over the years. Each time one had taken its last trip to the vet's, she had swore there would be no more cats at 142. Not to be, it would seem. Here you are, darling. Put Gingham in here, on the tea towel. It will be a little home for her, and you will be able to keep her safe. You're going to have to feed her little and often until she can lap. Beck placed Gingham into the box and clicked shut the door. This was going to be a challenge because it was obviously feral, but luckily young enough to be able to domesticate, hopefully. Beck kept Gingham with her day and night, feeding her every 4 hours with a syringe for the next 2 weeks. Then she gave the kitten a taste of mashed pilchards. And that was that. Gingham just loved pilchards and soon began to lap. It was a good 6 weeks before her eyes were fully open, a rather watery blue and quite unfocused. She was growing so fast and did not want to be in her box for too long. So an old travel cot was found in the shed and put up in the house. Gingham now had a playpen of sorts. As she grew, she became quite wild, and soon was able to use the travel cot like a velodrome and get out very easily. So she had to be watched constantly unless she was in her box. By the time she was 6 months old, she needed an operation at the vet's to prevent her from having kittens, because cats breed very fast, often every 16 weeks. We couldn't wait to take her because she had developed a dreadful howl as spring progressed, and she was literally running up the walls, followed by us. The noise was unbearable. The vet told us feral cats often behaved like this, and she would be better after the operation. Well, at least she stopped howling. But she was still very wild and unruly, biting and scratching at every opportunity. She became our house cat because we dared not let her out of the house, because we just knew she would not come back. Her wildness meant she only wanted to escape. She had no sense of danger, so our life became one of constantly shouting. Whenever any door was opened, "Shut the door! Remember the cat! Don't let it run out!" I just love cats. I really, really do. My fingers are crossed. 6 years on, walking the dog along our usual walk, and what do I espy? A beautiful Siamese kitten pops out of the woods and begins to follow me. I say, "Shoo, shoo, go away. I'm not interested. Off you go." But it persists, and I relent and pick it up. As I do, I spot 3 more little bundles huddled together. Obviously, they had been dumped there by some uncaring person. They were all boys, but very unusual for Siamese to be with 3 tabbies. I picked them all up. With difficulty, managed to get them all home safely. "Beck, you're never going to believe it," I called out as Beck came to see what the commotion was all about. "And you said I was the soft one," she scoffed, a wide smile spreading over her pretty face. "Tell me about it. But I just couldn't leave them, could I?" "No, but heaven only knows what Dad will say. I mean, for 1 to 5 cats in a day takes a bit of getting used to," she grinned. "I know, darling, but he'll understand. He's like you, a real softie. After all, don't you remember how he was the only one who could nurse Gingham? There in his chair he would sit wearing his old gardening gloves, and Gingham nestling quite happily in his hands, nibbling at the fat fingers of the gardening gloves, and him fast asleep, mouth wide open and snoring. Not that it bothered Gingham, did it?" "Not like it bothered us," reminisced Mum with a weary smile. "No, Dad would not be a problem." End of chapter 1. Click the 2 videos on screen now, and when you do, you're going to get even more inspiration.